Okay, so again, you have the Actions button right here. And then when you click on the Home button, that's what happens. And then under Timeline Control, you're going to double click on Go To, and it's going to pop up with that code right here. Now, because we hit Script Assist, it's going to have a few things up here that we can choose from. Okay, so what we're going to do is up here where it says Scene, we're actually going to just type in the word Home, all lowercase. Flash is very picky about uppercase letters and spaces, so you want to keep that all lowercase with no spaces. Then we have here frame number, and what that's referring to is a place on your timeline. And we're going to, for our purposes, we're going to keep this at frame number 1. So this is what your code is going to look like here. We're going to go ahead and do that with each of these. However, each one obviously is going to a different scene. So I'm going to do About on that one. Then the third one will be Contact. It's also very particular about the spelling, so you do need to make sure that your spelling is correct and that you double check it. Okay? Now, there's no way for you to tell that a button has an action on it other than you clicking on the button and going to the Actions panel. That's the only way you can see. Now, had you accidentally put an action on the frame, like let's say a stop action, you would see a little A in the keyframe. Okay, so I just want you to be aware of that. All right, now let me actually, let me get rid of that A. There we go. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is, if I play this, you're going to see it's just a one-frame movie at this point, but I have my buttons. Okay, they have actions on them. Now, unlike web pages go to a page, a different web page. In a Flash document, when we create websites with it, they go, instead of to a page, this is a single document, a single file, they just go to a different place. So we have what are called scenes, and you saw that when we put the actions on. So we're going to need to go to our window menu. Under Other Panels, you'll find Scene. Okay, and it just opened up down here. I'll pop it up here to make it a little bit easier to see. Now, you can, just like layers, you can double click to rename a scene. So I'm going to go ahead and rename that one Home. You also can create a new scene by clicking on, let me move this here since some of it came out of my add scene. This duplicates scene. Okay. Now, what we're going to do here is we're actually going to duplicate this scene because we have all of our actions on here. We have our title where we want it to be, and then we would have this space here where we could put information for our website. So I'm going to duplicate it to where I have 4 scenes, and then I'm just going to go ahead and double click, and this second one is going to be About. And then while I'm on the About scene, and I can tell that I'm on the About scene, look right here. That tells me I'm on the About scene. So I want to go to the About scene and I want to change that word of the title to About. The third one is going to be Contact. And again, I'm going to make sure I'm on that Contact scene so that I can change that word to Contact. And then the final one is Products. And I'm going to change the title of Products to Products. Okay, so now as I go down my scene panel, I can see my 4 titles. Each one is different. Okay, now I'm going to show you something real quick. I'm going to do a Command Enter. Now, if you look here, all of our buttons, they show up. Notice as I roll over them that circle doesn't seem to be expanding anymore. And you can also see that the titles up here at the top just keep going and going and going and going. And the reason for that is this. Remember that when you're in a scene, okay, the timeline goes by the frames and keyframes up here. So each one of these scenes is 1 frame long, 1/20th of a second. And what it's doing is it keeps playing. It's going from one frame to the next scene, that one frame to the next scene to the next scene. And it just keeps replaying and replaying. And it's not giving us any time to be able to actually click on our buttons, or if we had information here, it doesn't give us time for that either. So we actually do want to put in another action. Now, I know that this right here is a pretty simple timeline of what we have right now. However, it is a good habit to go ahead and create a layer for your actions whenever you need them so that it's easy for you to find and manage. Okay, so I'm going to click on that frame, that empty keyframe right there in the actions layer. I'm going to go to actions and I'm going to do a stop. And I'm going to, control, copy frames, and I'm going to go to each scene, and I'm going to control click, and I'm going to paste frames. And you notice how it also changed the layer name too, and you can see the A showing me that there is an action there. And once I have it copied, I can paste it on each one. I don't have to recopy it. All right, now if I go back to the home scene and I do a command enter, this is now staying still. Okay, it's stopped right there based on that action. I can roll over, I can see my buttons. I do want you to notice something on the end of my button. See how the end of that E is kind of cut off? And the end of that T, that one's okay. That one's a little cut off too. That's because of my hit area. So I would want to go back into my buttons and edit that rectangle in my hit area, make it a little bit bigger. Okay. But anyway, now if I go and click on About, it should take me to my About scene, and it does. If I click on Contact, it takes me to my Contact scene. If I go to Products, it takes me to Products, and then back home. So this is how you would make your navigation if you wanted to create a website in Flash, or if you wanted to create some sort of quiz or presentation. Instead of using PowerPoint, you might do something in Flash. That way you could make things a little more interactive or add animation or whatever. Now, one more thing that I want to do, because we can, if I go into my library, and I'm going to go ahead and start with my About button since it's alphabetical there. And I have common libraries, and I have sounds. And here it's opening it up for me. These are just some pre-formatted sounds. You know, depending on what this website was about, you might find some sort of a sound that goes with your button. Okay, and I'm not 100% sure what I'm looking for right now on this. But I'm going to go ahead and play this laser. Okay, that sounds wonderful. So if I wanted to, I could come here in the overstate and I could drop that on my stage. You don't see it on the stage, but look here, you can see the sound. Okay, and now if I go, I'm actually going to drag that library out. Now if I go to Contact And I can do the same thing. Home, whoops, home, and same thing. Got to make sure that I'm on the right keyframe because you don't want it in your up state because then it plays all the time. You only want it in your over or your down state so it does it, oops, when you are hovering over it or when you are clicking on it. Okay, so there is that. And now if I go back to my home scene and play again, you're not going to hear it right away, but now if I hover over, there it was. And that is a sure way to annoy all of the viewers of your website by creating buttons that make that much noise. But there are instances where you do want to have something like that, so it's handy to have. You can also import your own sounds. You don't have to use just the ones that are here in the sounds library. Okay? And once you're done, you'll obviously want to come in and save this if you haven't already. And this is going to be period number, last name. You're going to want to save it into your folder in schools. Remember, I saved to my desktop because I don't have a folder in schools. And go ahead and call this Buttons Scenes. That way you know what it is you're working on. Save it, and then once you have it saved, remember if you do a command enter or command return, that creates the Swift file for you. You're going to turn your Swift file into Poland drop so that I can grade it, as well as update your Google site with it.